In the late 90s, there was a young up-and-coming rapper by the name of Eminem, or Marshall Mathers. He had just released his hit debut album, the Slim Shady LP, and it was mad popular. So obviously, it only made sense as a new artist for people to really anticipate and get excited and wonder, well, what's your next album going to be? What's your next project going to be? Enter in the year 2000, Eminem releases the Marshall Mathers LP, which is what will be talking about today. I'm stuttering a lot. What the heck? Hello, my name is Brandon. I am a gamer, music lover, and aspiring voice actor. Now, a little backstory on my history with Eminem. He is my favorite rapper. Do I think he's the best rapper? I don't. I think that goes to Kendrick Lamar personally, and it's not just because of the beef. It's because of a lot of different factors, but that's like a video in its own. But Eminem's definitely up there, and he has definitely had quite an impact on rap. This, for most people, is regarded as Eminem's best album or Eminem's second best album, and in some cases his third best album. It's my second favorite. I have my reasons, and if you want to know which one my favorite is, just keep watching my videos, and then eventually I'll show you. Because I said this in my last review, you know, I'm like the king of hot takes. And when I say hot takes, you know, in some people's eyes, that could just mean like, you know, bad taste, but whatever. Before we get into talking about the tracks, let's talk about the contents of this vinyl record. There was a different cover art that if you go to Spotify and look at this album, you'll see that one. But I prefer this one, honestly. It's more fitting. It shows his childhood house and him just sitting on the porch of it. And it says Marshall Mathers LP here. I really like it. It has kind of a old school classic vibe to it, and yeah, just be wary that the material for this is not super thick, so be very wary of that. It comes in just one sleeve. There's not too much special about it. Then on the back we got a track list. Now, one thing I have to say, and I'm very disappointed to say, so you see the track list here, it says Kim's here. Kim is not on this album. On this version of the record, which I bought on Amazon, it says Kim is on this. When I got to that last disc, I was expecting to hear Kim. What I heard was a different song called The Kids, and I guess they put it on clean versions of the album, but this is not the clean version. This is the explicit version. So there is some miscommunication, and it kind of bugs me a little bit, but I try not to let it get to me too bad. It kind of sucks because Kim is such an iconic song. But you know, The Kids is a fun song. I'll talk about that later on in the video. But yeah, and then we got one last piece in here. This comes on 2 discs, by the way, and it's just a little another photo right here. Kind of cool. And then it has like the track names and the credits and stuff on the back of that. So yeah, overall, simple but pretty cool album. So when it comes to the packaging, the only thing I really am upset about is the whole not saying it's The Kids, instead saying it's Kim. But you know what? It is what it is. It looks very nice. So yeah. If you are looking to purchase this online and you decide to check Amazon, always check the reviews. This was a lesson to me as well. Check the reviews and make sure people are saying good things and that, you know, everything is all right, because I did check the reviews later on after purchasing this, and I did see that it did say that some of the reviews did say that the track list was wrong. So luckily it wasn't just this one, but yeah. Be careful where you buy this if you want Kim that bad. But like I said, if you don't mind, it's a great get, especially if you're a hardcore Eminem fan. I'll basically just tell you if I like the song and just some bullet points I wrote down with each song. So yeah, let's get into it. So we start with Kill You, and this song is pretty much saying that you don't want to fuck with Shady. Nope, you don't want to fuck with Eminem. Slim Shady, by the way, if you don't know, is a persona of his. And he's like, you don't want to mess with me. You really don't. And there's a lot of women lines in it and stuff, and he even does this thing where, I think this is the first time he ever does this. It's where he does like this little thing at the end where after the beat stops, he goes, I'm just playing. You know I love you. And I believe in this one he says, I'm just playing, ladies. You know I love you. And what that means is essentially, no, I just dissed you. If you remember Kill Shot, for example, in that diss track, he had a line about Diddy putting the hit on Pac. He actually already... What's the word? He brings it up again. I'll say he brings it up again in Fuel in his newest album, The Death of Slim Shady. So he really believed that. So he said a line with that, and then at the end of the MGK disc, he says, and I'm just playing Diddy. You know I love you. So that's kind of a thing he does sometimes with disses. So I think this is the first time he does that, but I'm not sure. So yeah, it's pretty much a woman diss track, but it's also like telling people, if you mess with me, I'll kill you. The beat's very simple, and it's a very good introduction to the album after the first skit, which is called PSA, or Public Service Announcement 2000, which is a sequel to the Public Service Announcement from Slim Shady LP. So that's a nice little tie-in. So side A continues with the second track, Stan, featuring Dito. Now let me tell you something, okay? If you have not heard this song already before, you're living under a rock or something. I don't know. But essentially, if you don't know, Stan is a song that's a story about a super fan of Eminem, like extreme obsessive super fan that he kind of wants to be him. He actually says in one of the verses that he wants to be with him, even though he talks about having a girlfriend who's pregnant, and it's a lot. So the song's very heavy. It's from the point of view, for the most part, this super fan, and he's writing letters to Eminem, and he's not getting any responses, so he gets kind of annoyed and irritated throughout the song. And if in the music video, it kind of shows some things like his girlfriend finding out how much of a creepy stalker that he is for Eminem. And then the third verse, which is the last verse in Stan's POV, he kind of commits a murder-suicide where he has his pregnant girlfriend in the trunk of his car, and he's driving drunk on the freeway, and he drives off the bridge, and, you know, whatever you think happens, happens. Then it cuts to Eminem, and he finally sees these letters, and he responds to him, and he realizes that, oh, wait, you're the guy I saw on the news. Oh, damn, I probably could have prevented this shit. It's a very heavy song, but also very iconic, and Dito killed it on the hook. My tea's gone cold, I wonder why I got out of bed at all. I also think it also is what either named Eminem's fans, or it created the term stan, which obviously means super fan. So the last song on side A of disc 1 is called Who Knew? And basically it's about how Eminem's saying, you know, who knew I'd get this famous, and who knew that kids would do what I said to my music? I mean, who knew that would happen? I didn't know. The song is very catchy and very infectious, and I do like it for that reason. Also, it does kind of bring up the question of, when you make music, it's kind of like the same dilemma you have when you make videos, or you're an actor, or you make movies or something like that, is that, you know, people say an influencer is a YouTuber, but no, anyone who's famous influences their audience. So this is pretty much saying, you know, I didn't know I'd influence kids to say all this or do all this, pretty much. Who knew that would happen? So then we get to side B of disc 1, and before this, actually, this is important for context for this song. Side A ends with a skit. I believe it's the one called Paul. And he pretty much says, hey, I listened to the album and you got to change some things up. It's a bit harsh. You got to change this. You got to change that. And this follows up with the first song on side B, which is The Way I Am. And this is basically, this is who I am. If they don't like it, then they can go fuck themselves. Because I ain't changing for nobody. He reiterates this in the hook. And I am whatever they say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? In the paper, the news, every day I am. Radio, don't even play my jam. Basically acknowledging, yeah, he's controversial, but he ain't changing for nobody anytime soon. And honestly, I respect it. Standing on business. I like that. Be true to yourself, ladies and gentlemen. And then, okay. You know, you might not have heard Stan, okay? But let me tell you something. If you haven't heard this next track, you're not just living under a rock. You're living under the ocean, maybe even in the Earth's crust. Because the next song on this list is The Real Slim Shady. This beat is so infectious and iconic. But that hook is amazing too. Like, come on, you have to have heard it at some point. So one thing I really didn't pay attention to, because when the Kendrick Drake thing was going on, that's when I really started paying attention to like lyrics and songs. I didn't realize that, well, I guess I should say I didn't know the context behind the Will Smith bar in this line. But he's like, it's something along the lines of, he doesn't cuss in his songs, so fuck him, and I guess fuck you too, he said. But I guess stems from a beef that Dre has with him because of the fact that Will Smith won a Grammy for a rap album he put out, and he didn't even swear in it. And he said on stage, like, see, you can do this without swearing. And then Dre just kind of was not happy with that. And I guess with that, also Eminem also didn't take kindly to that. So he just put a line in dissing Will Smith. So, yeah. I do think he meant well saying that, but at the same time, I don't know about that take. So Remember Me featuring RBX and Sticky Fingers. So RBX and Sticky Fingers, they do their thing. I really think they killed it on their verses. But it's just alright. I didn't really get anything special out of it. They fit the vibe of the song. But I don't know. It just didn't really do much for me. So I really don't have much to say about this one. So I'm Back is the last track on side B of disc 1. And it's essentially, he touches on his childhood a little bit. And then the chorus is essentially him just saying, he's like, I'm back, or something like that. And then you hear like kids saying Slim Shady, which is kind of funny. Now we get to side A of disc 2, where it starts out with Marshall Mathers, which is basically saying, before I got famous, no one gave a shit about me and everyone doubted me. But now that I'm famous, all of a sudden, everyone loves me. He's kind of pissed off about the fact that now people care. It's like, oh, now that I'm rich and famous, now you care. Now you want to be in my life. He also brings up Pac and Biggie a couple times in this, and it's kind of sad. And yeah, because if you think about it, when Eminem started, around that same time is when Pac got killed. So it's very sad in a way. Well, anytime anyone brings up Pac or Biggie, it's actually really sad. He also, on this track, speaks of his dislike of people like Britney Spears and boy bands and people who he says is trying to imitate Pac and Biggie, which you see a lot of things with Eminem nowadays. Like, oh God, I can go on and on how much I fucking hate Tom MacDonald. But like, Tom MacDonald is like trying to be edgy, and I don't know why, but I think he's also inspired by Slim Shady or Eminem. But I don't know, he's just such a fake political like shock factor bullshit Canadian. Okay, never mind. I was gonna make a joke, but I'm gonna refrain. He brings up Diddy, and the way he talks about him, it makes me feel like he's been sus of him connection with Pac all the way back to this album. But yeah, I think he always was kind of suspicious about the connection between Diddy and Pac, because if you don't know, he's been having this thing with like this belief that Diddy put the hit out that got Pac killed. Now we're actually seeing that it looks like he actually did hire Keefe D to put the hit out on Pac, And I'll talk more on that when we get to talking about the death of Slim Shady, whenever I get that record in. And then he ends the song with daring anyone to take shots at him, but they will regret it. Looking at this has aged very well because, oh my gosh, have you seen what MGK has done? He has switched genres from rap to punk rock. Like, what the hell, dude? The next song is called Drug Ballad, and
It's all about them drugs.
the beat feels like it's like meant for a club setting, kind of. Now, something to note about this song is that it doesn't sound like a pro-drug song, but it doesn't sound like an anti-drug song either. I think it's him just touching on the fact that, hey, I'm addicted to drugs and it makes me feel good. I think that's kind of it. I don't think he's pushing drugs onto people with this. At least I don't think. He could be. I don't know. It's Slim Shady. There are also some female vocals throughout the track, which I find really cool. And I have a theory that the female, this might even be true, like just facts, and I'm just now figuring it out. But I think the female vocals, it's like kind of like seductive in a way. So I feel like what those are supposed to be are like the voices of the drugs calling to Slim, and it's like, come here. By the way, those ladies killed it. By the way, they killed the singing. It's definitely a good song, and it's definitely fun on re-listenings. The next song is Amityville. It features Bizarre from the hip-hop group D12. It's essentially about how kids are growing up in Detroit and stuff, and it's not the best environment and stuff like that. And D12 did his thing, even though it seemed like a very, very short feature. It's an okay track. It's not one I'd really go back to, but Bitch Please 2, featuring Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Exhibit, and Nate Dogg. Now the features essentially take over this track, and Eminem feels like a feature tacked onto the end of the track. But I've noticed with Eminem and like his features, especially more semi-recently, is that he goes last. Like a newer example with Toby for the death of Slim Shady, Eminem goes last. It's Babytron, then it's Big Sean, and then it's him. So I think this is just something he does sometimes. They're pretty much just talking shit. That's kind of what the song is. They talk their shit, and, you know, fair game. And it's like shit talking to like 90s degree. Like it sounds very 90s, if that makes sense. Like 90s hip hop beat behind it and all that. It's all good. It's just all good and fun. All right, disc 2 side B. Now I mentioned this when I was showing you guys off the vinyl record, but this thing lied to me and said it had Kim on it, when really it has a song called The Kids. Now don't get me wrong, The Kids is a fun song, and we'll get into it in a second. But not having Kim on this really pissed me off, because as messed up as a song Kim is, like, to sum it up in case people don't know what Kim is, it's a song about Eminem killing his wife, essentially, because she cheated on him. It's a horror flick in a song, and it's amazing. He has really good storytelling. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about Stan, but the storytelling in his songs are really good. It doesn't really work well with a full album, but we'll get to that once we get to the death of Slim Shady. But when it comes to building a story in a song, Eminem's really good at doing that, I think. What I found out is that for clean versions of the song, he has another song called The Kids, because Kim is so explicit that you just can't make a clean version of it without it probably sounding like ass. And it's quite a violent song and very dark song. They have a song called The Kids, where essentially Slim Shady is a substitute teacher at South Park Elementary, which it's obvious that's South Park Elementary, because like all the kids in the background that are like throughout the song, they talk like that, and the teacher's like, okay, he like talks like that one teacher from South Park. And I always kind of figured that Eminem was a fan of South Park, because you see elements of that in some of his other songs going like down the road. He definitely takes a lot of inspiration from South Park, and in this song it's really funny because he's teaching an anti-drug class, but by doing that he's like telling the story, like these traumatic stories to these children. It's really funny song, and definitely way more lighthearted than Kim is. So I get why they put that on the clean version of the album. I wish that Kim was still on this. It's so disappointing. But The Kids is still kind of fun and iconic in a way. So that you guys avoid what I did, I mentioned this in the earlier part, but I want to mention it once again. I want to reiterate it. I got this from Amazon. Read the reviews before you purchase it if you really want one with Kim on it. And it says in the reviews, hey, just note this does not have Kim on it. It actually has a different track. Be aware of that. So if you don't mind the kids, if you like the song, then kudos to you. It still bugs me though that it just doesn't say the kids, on the packaging. Now going into these last two tracks, I actually found them both kind of like just kind of ad tracks. Under the Influence featuring D12. It's basically a play on people being under the influence. People say, oh, don't be under the influence of drugs or something. It's basically him saying, people are under the influence of me. So basically saying I'm a drug and people are under my influence and stuff like that. And then D12, they do their thing. And yeah, it's kind of just a mess song for me. And then the last one is Criminal, and it's basically people saying, comparing himself to a criminal, because people say, you say all this crazy shit, you should be locked up and all that. And yeah, he just critiques that, and that's how the album ends. All in all, it's a great album, whether it's the kids or it's Kim. This album is definitely iconic. I see why. Like I said, it's not my favorite Eminem album, but it's definitely up there. It's actually a close first compared to the one that is first. Like I said, I'm keeping that a secret till we get to it. I will do a spoiler alert though. It's not Revival. Fuck Revival. You'll not see that on this channel. I think that's like a universal Eminem fan take, is that Revival is trash. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell when you do. And yeah, so long and good night.